There are over 100,000 people who immigrate to New Zealand every year with the intention to make New Zealand their home, leaving behind everything they know as normal day-to-day life and having to learn new ways of doing things, new norms, new cultures, and different values. There are many people who struggle with this transition and find it challenging to adjust and settle, so they can call and make New Zealand their home. The purpose of this podcast is for me to share my journey and our challenges with the hope that you can learn from me and my family and have a softer landing. There will be good days and bad days, but with time, more good days. I believe we have made the right choice for our family and want to try and help you do the same, but hopefully with a softer landing. This is Soft Landing, and I am your host, Brett Corlett.
Welcome to this podcast, designed for anyone thinking about preparing for or who has just immigrated to New Zealand. Subscribe now so you never miss an episode. Drawing from his personal experience, this series will guide you through the process of preparing for your move and helping you navigate the challenges of immigration.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's so nice to have you join me again. And what I really wanted to talk about today and share a little bit, and I'll get straight into it. It's been what's worrying me a little bit. I've had a week where, not only a week, it's a little while. I see a lot of people, a lot of immigrants on social media and all the different groups that I'm part of, and I can see how a lot of people are struggling. Immigration is tough. I've said it many times before, but they're struggling to settle. They're struggling to make New Zealand home. And it's people that have been here for a while. I've had some people that have messaged me, which I'm really grateful for, and they've told me, look, talk on topics where it's not just about the first year, the second year, the practical advice. It's not just in the first and the second year how you make things work and get on top of things when you've just immigrated, but it's when you've been here 3, 4, 5 years and you're still struggling to fit in. You're still trying to make this feel like home. You're struggling to make those connections. You're struggling to have a sense of purpose, to feel like, okay, I've made the right decision. That's what a lot of people are still struggling with. And over and above the people that have messaged me and said talk on those sort of topics, they've also, I've seen on a lot of the social media trends and all the social media groups with the chats and everything like that, a lot of people talking about how difficult it is and how they can spiral and go quite negative and say how bad New Zealand is. And I know it sounds harsh, but a lot of it is just the blame game. They'll blame the government, they'll blame the economy, they'll blame the cost of living, they'll blame lots of different excuses why it's bad. And I know I sound terrible because it's excuses, and that's not what I'm trying to get into. I get it. Okay, it is hard. I have those days. I have bad days. I have days when I'll turn around to my wife and I'll go, why the hell did we do this? Why are we here? I wish I was back home. I wish I had everything that I had before. And that's when I need my wife to kick me up the butt, and she does. And she reminds me, you had the same problems when you were back home, or similar problems. You would be complaining about something else. So just as much as you're moaning about stuff here, you would find other stuff to moan about at home. You kind of got to stop moaning and blaming, and you kind of got to pull yourself towards yourself and start thinking, okay, well, how can I take control? How can I get on top of it? How can I make this work? How can I settle? And that's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, I can just talk ourselves. We're not living pretty. Everything's not easy. Yes, we've got a lot to be grateful for. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to move here. A lot of other people would give their left arm to be able to have the opportunity to move to New Zealand. So I get that. I know that I've got my health, my family are healthy. We've got each other, we've got jobs, we've got a roof over our head. So there's a lot to be grateful for. But it still doesn't mean my life is perfect, and it doesn't mean things are easy. I can just tell you in the last, we've been here just over 2.5 years now, and I can tell you in the last 2.5 years, we've had our struggles as well. Over and above a lot of stuff that I've shared on my podcast and my YouTube channel, and a lot of things that we've gone through in the last 2.5 years, and trying to give practical advice of how to sort it out and wade through this immigration journey. I mean, there's stuff where we had my sister-in-law who passed away last year. So in January, she got cancer a little bit before that, but she passed away just towards the end of January of last year. And that was a tremendously difficult time, especially for my wife, to try and grieve and deal with all of that from the other side of the world, not being able to fly back to South Africa for the funeral, not being able to be there for her sister when she was literally going through, dying and suffering and having a really tough time in her life. And all she wanted to do was be there for her sister. And when we found out it's terminal, the last thing we want to be is on the other end of the world, not to be able to be there to comfort her. Over and above that, we have my nephew that's back there, and he's reliant on his mom. And now we know that we're the legal guardians and trying to work out, okay, well, how are we going to work this out that we can get him across to New Zealand with us? Never mind the financial side of it. It was just the emotional side, the practical side, trying to be executors on her will. We had all of this going on over the last 18 months. Over and above that, when she did pass and we were the nominated guardians, we couldn't just get him on a plane and fly him here and get him to New Zealand. There was a whole lot of legal side that we had to go through. We were told we had to legally adopt him, which meant we had to deal with Oranga Tamariki here, which is the children's ministry in New Zealand. And we had to deal with the children's ministry in South Africa. And then we got an adoption agency allocated. And there was a whole lot of hoops that we had to jump through and paperwork and trying to get everything into the courts to officially adopt him. And being in South Africa and the courts and everything like that, stuff got lost and delayed. And what they told us would be a simple process and would take a couple of months, and we'd be able to get him legally adopted. We'd then be able to fly him across and get him onto our immigration, onto our visas, our residency visas. Turned out 18 months later, and we were still struggling just to try and get before a magistrate in South Africa to be able to proceed with the legal adoption. So we had all of this going in the background, and then we had to find lawyers, not only in New Zealand, but lawyers in South Africa to help us. The costs around that, but over and above the cost, the emotional toil and how difficult it was to deal with all of this while you're still in a new country and just trying to make it work here. And then you've got other problems in this country where you don't have friends, you don't have a support structure. You're still emotionally trying to just figure it out yourself and settle here. I mean, I was having troubles at work where, man, I don't know if it's a New Zealand thing, but they seem to go through restructures all the time. It's like the in thing, just to go through a consultation and restructure and change things up. In the 2.5 years that I've been here, I've gone through 3 restructures, which is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. It's so unsettling, and it makes it so difficult for you worry, will I be able to keep my job so I can keep my income so I can provide for my family? And all you're thinking is in the background is, we've moved to the side of the world. I've spent all my life savings and everything to get here, everything I have to make this work. Now I've got a job, I'm reliant on that income. And when you're going through these restructures, if I don't get my job, I've got to find another job. And then I've done lots of other content where I've explained to you the situation in New Zealand at the moment, just coming out of this recession. Jobs are not easy to come by. And just trying to get those interviews is so tough and so hard. And it can take a long period of time. It can take months before you actually finally secure another job. So can you afford to be without a job for months and months with no income coming in and no savings? It can keep you up at night. It can make you worry because you've got a family to support. You've brought your kids to this side of the world and you're trying to make things work. And over and above me worrying about all of this and all the restructures we're going through, my wife is worrying about her nephew and her mom who's back in South Africa. And we're trying to plan so much stuff. I promise you, life is not perfect. There is like so much going on. Not only just talking about work, but you can talk about, expenses here. The people, and they're right, the economy has been a shocker. Living expenses are high here at the moment. So the cost of living constantly goes up. So then you're struggling to make ends meet some days. Some people are struggling. We're very blessed that we have the jobs that we have and we've got 2 incomes coming in, but I can understand how you have problems. It's not easy. I can tell you that one of the toughest things for me, over and above what we're dealing with my nephew and my mother-in-law and dealing with work and trying to fit in and the different way of doing things and these restructures and worrying about money, never mind money just to live now, but then I got it on the back of my mind trying to think about money for the future and retirement. And this is why you can have so much noise in your head and it can be so difficult. And it's hard to keep your relationship with your partner. So my wife and I would get edgy and on edge and short with each other. And then you get short with the kids, and I promise you it can spiral. It can be so hard. So I don't want to paint this picture that we've got it all together and we've moved here and we're just on top of this and the perfect family and everything's working out perfectly and New Zealand is perfect and everything is great. It's hard. This takes grit. This takes, I promise you, everything you have in you to keep fighting, to get up every single day and just to keep pushing and keep going. And you can't give up. And I think that's why I find it so hard is when I see these people on social media and I see these people spiraling, I get it. I can relate. I get it. But I also get upset in a way because I'm kind of like, yeah, as much as it's tough, you're not alone. We're all struggling, okay? All of us immigrants are finding it tough. This is not easy for any of us. We all have our journey. We all have our story. But the point is you cannot give up. You just can't. You can't give up. You have to keep going. You can't just pack it in and go home. Well, I guess some people can, but geez, to do that, I don't, in my mind, that's bonkers. It's not even an option. We've given up everything to make this work, and I've committed to it, and I'm determined to make this home. I'm determined to make this work, which means I got to figure out ways to get through this. I got to figure out ways to find that intrinsic motivation to keep getting up every morning, to keep going, to never give up. And it means it's a roller coaster. Some days you get up and you feel on top of the world and you're in control and everything's okay. But there's days you're going to have your bad days. Okay, and I think that's where your partnership and your strength and your marriage and communication all plays a big role. And I'm not saying I get it right. I can tell you I've upset my wife plenty of times, okay? I can tell you times that she's done stuff that irritate the hell out of me. It's not an easy thing. But at the back of our mind, we are committed. We have decided we are making this home. We are not turning back. And we will tackle whatever is thrown our way. We will make it work, and we are making it work. With my nephew getting here, I can tell you, okay, it's a side note, but it's positive, is we've just found out yesterday that his visa's been approved. We've got the adoption now. We are legally his guardians. So we've booked tickets, and by the end of this month, no, not this month, middle of next month, sorry, he will be here in New Zealand with us. So it's been a slog. It's been an 18-month emotional roller coaster ride, but we never gave up, and we're making that work. With work, it's been tough. I've gone through 3 restructures in the last 2.5 years, but I've still got a job and I'm still there. And I can tell you sometimes I question, geez, do I know what the hell I'm doing? And am I fitting in? Am I actually adding value? And am I heading in the right direction? And sometimes you feel a little bit, you feel different sometimes, that you just can't fit in. Sometimes I know some people have spoken about tall poppy syndrome, where sometimes you stand out too much and you kind of like this go-getter. But I guess that's a South African trait. We were in a country where we had to work hard. You had to stand out, be the best that you could be to keep your job, and we were just, it's intrinsically built in us that you're just hard workers and you want to shine and be better than anyone else. That's just how you are. But here, that can be borderline arrogant and frowned upon, that you're taking on too much, you're standing out above everybody else. And that can lead to bullying and can lead to workplace where you just don't fit in and you're standing out and people just resent you for it. It's so hard. I promise you, there's so many things that you got to tackle that are not easy. They're really not easy. But the big thing I'm trying to land is you cannot give up. These people that are writing on social media, I can see that they're spiraling and they're in that hole where they're at that point where I can see that they're almost ready to give up. They're just done. And that breaks my heart. Okay, you just cannot give up. And I think that's why I wanted to give this podcast today, is just to share just let you know that I haven't got it all together. It's not perfect. I'm still on this journey. I'm still learning. Okay, my family's still learning. We're still adjusting, and every day is going to be an adjustment. Okay, but we have our good days, but we also have our bad days. But we're not giving up, and my goal, I'm telling you, and I'm committed, and I'm gonna make it work. This is going to become our home. I am making New Zealand our home as a family. And my mission is to bring a lot of other people along for the ride. I'm going to help other immigrants. My goal and my mission is to help a lot of you to learn from us and bring you along so that you can also make New Zealand home. That is my mission. So with that is what I was giving it some thought. And I thought, okay, well, how am I trying to deal with this? Let me try to think of some practical ways to share of how I'm overcoming this. And I'm not perfect. I promise you, I'm no guru. I'm not saying I'm getting it all right, okay? I'm not. These days I totally mess it up, screw it up, and I think, oh, geez, you got to start again. But part of that is also realizing, just realize, don't be so hard on yourself. Know that you're trying. Forgive yourself and say, okay, cocked up again. I didn't get it right again. I upset my wife again. But you got to remember, but I'm trying. So take a step back, forgive yourself and say, how am I going to do better tomorrow? How am I not going to do that again? Okay. And then also trying to put some practical things in place so that you can actually make this work. And that's what I wanted to share today is my journey and what I'm practically trying to apply to make this work. Some of it is working for me. Some of it is still a work in progress, but I thought, let me share it with you. And if it can help someone else too, well, then great. That's really my goal today. So how this all came about is, and I think I've shared it on some of my other podcasts and stuff, is over and above everything that's going on in our life, I'm very much about, I started thinking, how do I take control? How do I get control back? Maybe it's this A-type personality where, you're just driven and you want to take control and sometimes it's hard when you got all these external factors that just seem to be working against you. And sometimes, like my wife and I keep saying, geez, what more can be thrown our way? And we're struggling so much. And it's just that last thing that's going to break the camel's back. And I was like, no, I got to give it thought. How am I going to get on top of this? And how I did that was I needed space to just start thinking and just trying to come up with a plan. I'm very much about that. I try to be practical. Even when we were immigrating here, a lot of my first podcasts were all about, you got to have a plan. You got to, you can't just jump into immigrating and just hope for the best. Well, I don't believe you can. You got to really think it through and have a real plan that backs it up. So just like in everything that's going on in my life, I thought, okay, I've got to have a plan. I've got to think practically, how can I work through this? So the starting point for me was going for walks on the beach. And when I was going for those walks on the beach, it gave me a time to just think and be alone with my thoughts and think, okay, well, what are the things I'm struggling with? What are all the challenges we've got in our life at the moment? And just trying to unpack those slowly and trying to breathe while walking and think, okay, how can I get on top of this? Over and above going for those walks where I was starting to unpack stuff and having a bit of quiet time to myself, that's my quiet time, so that I could process through the noise in my head, I thought, okay, I need to find practical ways to sort this out. I have to pull on my experience that I have in the last few years of just living life and life experiences, but also try to find what are some of educate yourself, teach yourself. How can you teach yourself? So that's when I started thinking, okay, there's got to be other podcasts out there for other people that have been through this. So let me try and find podcasts and podcasts that I can listen to that will give me practical skills that I can apply to get on top of this. Over and above that, I thought, well, books are a world of knowledge. Find some books that you can read and say, okay, well, maybe some books can address this. So they'll give you practical advice. So that's what I started going through to try take control again. So starting at the beginning, there's two books that I'm going to talk to here. Okay, the one is Simon Sinek's Starting with a Why. Okay, so that I've used plenty of times in my career with managing people, setting goals. I know it's all business related, and you're always trying to say, hey, start with a why and really understand why we're here as a team and what we're trying to accomplish, and then how we're going to get it done. Okay, so I'm very much about Simon Sinek, but I do believe as much as you can apply that in the workplace, you can apply it in your own personal life as well. So that's why I think it's episode 14 of my podcast. I talked about finding your purpose and trying to understand why you're here. And that related into Simon Sinek's why, what, and how. But it also, I spoke a little bit about the wheel of life, which is 8 different areas of your life that you want to tackle to try set goals, to try get balance in all those different 8 wheels of your life. I've used that in business before with teams that I've led before, and trying to unpack personal goals and trying to get them to have a little bit of focus and direction. And I've applied that in my own life, and I use it in my own life. And I regularly touch base every quarter. I've got it in my diary where I go through my plan for every year that relates to my wheel of life in all my different areas. And then I break it down into bite-sized chunks to see how I can work through it. So that was one of the things that I definitely had to do. But I also started realizing there was another thing missing, okay? And it really landed for me when I read another book, which was by Robin Sharma, which is the monk who sold his Ferrari. And if you haven't read it, read that book or listen to the audiobook. It's really, really awesome. It just broke it down so simply with the way he was talking it through with an analogy of taking control of your mind and your thoughts. And that's where it starts. And then from your thoughts and your mind, it's building out the purpose and the vision. And then from the purpose and the vision, it's exercising what they call Kaizen, which I think is a Japanese trait, if I remember correctly. I think it was Toyota that applied it for the first time, or where it came from. But either way, it's really just trying to small little wins every day, just trying to improve a little bit every single day, which is really cool. And then from that, it was going into the next step, which was talking about routines and discipline and really forming those habits. And then the last thing was how you share this and pay it forward and help others. So those 5 steps that I read in that book around your monk who sold his Ferrari and thinking about Simon Sinek's why, what, and how, and my wheel of life, I thought, this is how I'm going to try to tie it together. And this is how I'm going to put a plan together. So where I started was, okay, step 1, you've got to take control of your thoughts and your mind, because that's where it all starts. There's so many people that you know, and you can see them on social media. You can see them in the social groups that and people you associate with, people you talk to at work. They are so negative. They are so half glass, half empty, not half full. They're those half empty people. And they're the ones that always moan, and they're constantly blaming everything. They blame the economy. They blame their boss. They blame work. They blame, I don't know, every excuse under the sun. Okay. And I'm not saying that those outside influences are not there. Of course they're there. But at the end of the day, you have a choice. And I remember this years ago when I went through some of my leadership training for being a manager. And I remember one of the coaches that met with us, and she turned around and she said, Brett, you always have a choice. And she expanded on it. She said, what I mean by you always have a choice is you have a choice to respond. You have a choice not to respond. You always have a choice. So make the right choice. Okay. And when I was thinking about choice, I said, I'm choosing to take control of my own thoughts and my own mind, because that's where it starts. And if you go read that book by Ramon Sharma about the monk who sold his Ferrari, they start with the mind. And they said, with the mind, it's almost like a garden. Okay. And I love that analogy. And he says, the seeds that you plant are the thoughts that you're planting. And if you're planting those positive thoughts will grow. If you're planting those negative thoughts will grow. And that just resonated with me. It really made me think, the days that I'm having good days are generally the days when I'm thinking positively. I'm in a good mind space. And I'm just feeling on top of the world. And that it's like infectious, and it grows and it keeps going. And you just bring that positivity around you, and it seems to naturally happen. But when I'm in those bad days and I'm negative, it seems to spiral, and just more and more negative happens. So it really resonated with me, and it made me realize I need to take control of my thoughts. It is the starting point. It is the first step that I choose to be in control of my own mind. I'm going to be the conductor in my mind and decide what thoughts I'm going to think of and plant, and what seeds of thought I'm going to let grow. So that was the first thing. And I know it sounds like so off the wall, but I promise you, I'm trying this. And over the last few months, I'm trying this. It's helping. Am I getting it perfect? No, I'm not getting it perfect. Of course, there's days I wake up and still have negative thoughts, but then I'm trying to catch myself and say, Brett, stop it. You're in control. You're going to plant those positive thoughts, not the negative thoughts. And how I'm practically trying to apply this, it starts with gratitude, trying to think about things that you are grateful for, that that you've got in your life that are good. I promise you, there are things. Even when there's so much crap going on around you and the world is a mess, as we all say it is, and where you're in a country where the economy it's crazy, the cost of living is crazy, your job environment can be hell, you can be having problems in your personal life, there can be so many things, but you can find things that you can be positive about, okay? If you've got a job, you've got income, that's something to be grateful for. A lot of other people will give their left arm to have a job at the moment, okay? Being in this country, how many people are still wanting to immigrate and be here? That is something to be grateful for. I have a family. I have my health. I have 2 beautiful kids, soon to be 3 with my nephew coming along. I've got my wife that is a rock that supports me like you will not believe, and sometimes I question why the hell she even does it, okay? I've got so much to be grateful for. I really, really do. I've got a job where I can have flexibility. I can work remotely. We can tag team and look after the kids. There's a lot to be grateful for. Yes, I could get just as big a list and tell you all the things that I'm not, that are not going well in my life. But take control of those thoughts. Rather focus on the positive. So the first thing I do is in the morning, when I wake up and get out of bed, I'll tell you the very first thing I do when I get out of bed, I sit on the side of the bed. I've always got a glass of water. 100% believe in hydrating and making sure that the first thing you do is drink a glass of water. I don't know, it was something that I read somewhere, once upon a time, I think it was a Japanese thing or whatever, but it's meant to be really good for your health and your body and whatever else. If you think about it, you've just dehydrated for a whole 8 hours or whatever you sleep. So the first thing you should do is rehydrate. So that's a practical thing that I'm doing. With the practical thing, I had to think of practical things to get control of my mind. And that was why when I get up, the first thing I do when I sit on the side of the bed drinking my glass of water is I start trying to recite in my head, what are the things I'm grateful for today? Okay, even if it's the same 3 things, just keep saying those same 3 things in your head, in your mind, over and over again. It takes 21 days to create a habit. So you've got to be consistent and you've got to push through and make an effort to do this every single day. Okay, this is the way I'm doing it. Other people write in a journal, there's different ways to do it. I'm telling you the way I do it. Wake up in the morning, I recite those 3 things in my head. Once I've said the 3 things that I'm grateful for, I get out of bed and I walk downstairs. So that's the first thing in the morning. Over and above being grateful for the first thing I do when I wake up for those and recite it in my head, what I also do is every night before I go to bed, when my head is on the pillow, and I tell you it can be hard when you've got family and little kids and they're jumping around, and just to get time, I promise you what I do is I lie there with my eyes closed before I go to bed, and if you're religious, pray, because that is getting your thoughts. And I pray and I say what I'm thankful for. And I say, I'm grateful for these 3 things. So even do it first thing in the morning and before I go to bed, those are the 3 things that I'm grateful for. But what I do over and above praying and giving thanks and being grateful first thing in the morning and last thing at night before I go to bed, I also do visions. Okay, what I mean by visions is I try envision, that sounds terrible or very out there in visions. I'm meaning visualize what you want for your life, okay? So you given thought about what you want to achieve. And my vision here is I want to be able to wake up in the morning, be in a home that I own in this country where I can, out of the window that I'm sitting at having my first cup of coffee in the morning in, is a view of the sea with the sun rising over the sea. And I can envision myself every morning waking up, feeling proud that I've made it work. I own my home. It's a home that is overlooking the sea, and I can watch the sunrise while having a cup of coffee. And even better than that, I'm envisioning that I will be in a position where I'm financially free, so I have my own time and I own my time. So I'm not pressured by a company to have to be at work by 8 o'clock so that I'm stressed and I have to get going. But I've got the time to have that peace in the morning, to be alone with my thoughts in a home that I own with my family, watching the sunrise, having a cup of coffee. Now that's what I'm working towards. That's my vision. That's what I want. I want that home. I want that financial freedom. So I envision that when I'm putting my head on the pillow. So as much as I pray and say what I'm grateful for, I also pray for say, and this is what I'm working towards. I'm working towards making New Zealand my home. I'm working towards making a stable environment for my family, for my kids, where they will want for nothing. I want to make sure that my wife has all of her needs met and that she's happy and that I can do my best at work. I can do my best with everything that I'm getting involved in to try add value, to try and work on my circle of life with my finances, for example, and achieve my goals. So that's what I'm praying through every single night to try and achieve my vision. Now, some people might think, geez, Brett, you got a lot of thoughts that are going through your head. It's almost settles me because it's trying to hard print every night. It's a habit. Every night I'm saying my prayers, what I'm grateful for, but I'm also saying over and over what I'm trying to achieve, which is in line with my vision. And then waking up in the morning, reminding myself what I'm grateful for, and trying to get in that right mindset. So the step 1 is taking control of your mind, okay? And it's trying to put those routines and consistency in place so that you're trying to show your gratitude. You're trying to reaffirm your vision in your mind, and it's all positivity that you're trying to build up. And this is what I'm really trying to do. And you've got to do it for at least 21 days to make this a habit. So it's a habit for me now. Every morning, as I said, wake up, drink that glass of water, thinking about my 3 things that I'm grateful for. Every night before I go to bed, or when I'm in bed, put my head on my pillow, say my prayers, what I'm grateful for, and what I'm trying to achieve. Lord, help me to achieve those. And that's what I do religiously to try to take hold of my mind and my thoughts. What I also do, and now this is going to sound funny, is when I'm in the shower, that is a perfect time where you're alone and you can, well, sort of alone. I mean, everybody shares the bathroom, whatever else, but they're not in the shower with me. So I'm thinking while I'm in the shower. I'm trying to plan out my day. So while I'm showering in the morning, I'm thinking through, okay, this is what I want to achieve today. These are the things I want to do. So that you're almost starting to plan out what you're going to focus on so that you've got your things you need to do. Over and above, when I'm showering in the morning, the first thing I do once I've showered and I've packed the lunch, because we've got a routine going with the kids and whatever, I have my 30 minutes in the morning, religiously, 30 minutes to come down in front of my laptop, and that's where I plan out my day. That 30 minutes from 7 to 7:30 is, okay, look at your diary. What have you got in your diary to do today? What are the things you said you wanted to do? Write them down, add them into your diary, put in your reminders, and that's what you're going to try and achieve for the day. So that I've got this, it's a routine, it's religious. Every morning, I've got how I'm taking control of my mind, how I'm planning out my day so that I can get things done. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit further about routines, but it's just step 1, mind. Okay, you've got to get control of your own mind, your own thoughts, and plant those positive seeds, because then positive seeds will grow. So that's the first thing. Second step is trying to make sure you've got a very clear purpose, vision, and mission. Okay, so those are the 3 things that you've got to do. I did do that episode or podcast, which is episode 14 on why am I here. If you haven't listened to it, listen to that one, because that also gives you a guide on how do you set your purpose? How do you find your why? How do you find out why you're here? What is the reason that you're here? What is your purpose? And then tying that into your vision, like I've started sharing what my vision is, but also what your mission is and what you're trying to achieve, okay? So when I talk purpose, if I want to talk purpose and why you're here, I mean, I'm here to support my family. I'm here to serve my family and look after my family. But over and above my family, it's to help others. That is my purpose in life, and that's really what I'm trying to do. For me to be able to fulfill my purpose and my why and to help my family and to be able to support others, I had to expand on that and work out, well, how am I going to do that, okay? Yes, I've got a vision of how I want a home and I want financial freedom and how I'm going to be sitting in my own home that I own one day, looking at that sun rising, sipping my cup of coffee, feeling that sense of pride and wow, I've done it and I've achieved. So that's my vision that I'm holding on to. I had to tie it into my mission of, okay, well, how am I going to become financially free? How am I going to help and serve others? And that's where that circle of life tied in. So that's why it was so important to think, okay, well, let me break it down. There's 8 different areas to the wheel of life. There's your health, there's your fitness, your career, your business, your personal growth, friends, family, significant other, your wife. There's fun and leisure, and your physical environment, your home life. There's those 8 different areas of the wheel of life. And you have to then tackle those and start thinking, okay, for each of those, how do I break it down into bite-sized chunks, little things that I'm going to do to improve in each of those areas. So if you had to take health, for example, you had to work out, okay, well, what am I going to achieve with my health? Where am I today? What's my benchmark? And where do I want to be in a year's time? And then work backwards from there and break it down. So if you don't go to gym, maybe it's starting to go to gym. Maybe if gym is too much, maybe it's just starting to go for walks. You work out what's best for you. For me in my life, it was I need to get more regular with my gym. I need to be more consistent. I need to work in weights. It can't just be cardio. It needs to be a good balance of both. So my goal was I had to get up to going to gym 3 times a week consistently. So I had to get a routine in place where I'm going to gym, fit it into my schedule. So it's 5:30 in the morning, 3 days a week, your Tuesday, your Thursday, and your Sunday morning. So that's when I'm going to be going to gym, and that's when I'm going to be doing weights. I had to balance it with cardio. I said, okay, how am I going to balance with cardio? I like walking because I can kill two birds with one stone. I can walk up to 6Ks 3 times a week, but at the same time, I could be listening to my audiobooks. I can be listening to my podcasts. So I built it into my plan. I said, okay, so health-wise, this is the things I'm going to do. I'm going to work on putting that schedule in place, making a habit, going to gym 3 times a week, lifting those weights, putting a schedule in place at the gym with weights and what I'm going to be doing. Make sure that you're walking 3 times a week. If you can do more, great, but do your 3 times and build up to getting to your 3 days a week. And then trying to not only do that, but balance it with, okay, well, what are my eating plans? How am I going to change my eating plans? Do I take enough vitamins? Okay, what vitamins should I be taking? So I've really planned it to that length around health. Doing the same with your finances, trying to unpack your finances and say, okay, well, what am I trying to achieve? I want to buy a home. I want to get retirement and investments. There's a whole lot of things you want to do. I want to just, maybe it's smaller. I just want to start buying a car. I want to go on holidays. I want whatever it is around your finance, but you've got to build a plan. Just talking about it is not going to help. I've got spreadsheets. I've got a plan. I've met with financial advisors. I've tried to put this in place. So, okay, I've got a plan. How am I going to get there? What do I need to do? How do I get that extra income and different sources of income so that I can actually achieve retirement at the age that I want to, so that I can actually buy a home? So I've got to put all of this together with the help of experts, i.e. financial advisors, so they can guide me, because I'm not the expert there, but I know it's something I want to do. Career, business. Okay, what do I want to achieve in my career? Where do I want to be with the company that I'm working for? What do I want to do with the team that I'm busy doing? Or with soft landing, in my case, what do I want to do with soft landing? What do I want to achieve in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years? Building that out. Personal growth. What books do I want to listen to? Where do I want to get more skill? Social media courses that I've been doing. There's now mental wellness coaching courses that I want to enroll in the new year. So I'm building this out of stuff that I want to achieve, but you break it down with the wheel of life. So it helps you to not only start at the beginning, where you've got to work out your why and your purpose and know why I'm here, which you can do in episode 14. But once you're clear on that and you know why you're here, Simon Sinek is big about this, hence his book that I follow him as well, is then working out what your vision is. Have a clear vision, because that vision is what you also want to see when you put your head on the pillow every single night. So you know why you're doing this, what are you trying to achieve, and what is your end goal vision that you want to be. And then that ties into your mission, saying, okay, well, then I'm making it my mission. I'm making it my mission. I'm going to be financially free, and I'm going to help hundreds and thousands of people immigrate to this country. I'm going to serve others in that way. I'm going to serve my family, and I'm going to get this done, so that you can keep to it. But you've got to get practical, hence the wheel of light and breaking it down. So step 2, having that purpose, the vision, and the mission. Step 3, this is where Kaizen came in with his book from Robin Sharma about the monk who sold his Ferrari, is saying little improvements every single day add up. So if you do one improvement a week, there's 52 weeks in a year, there's 52 things that you've improved in that space of whatever you were trying to improve. I also tie it in with, I often say to my team, it's like eating that elephant one bite at a time. It becomes overwhelming when you want to tackle something so huge, it's just too much. But over and above the overwhelming, it's if you break it down into bite-sized chunks, it's not going to be overwhelming, but little improvements every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year, and you will get there. So it's tying it into your plan. When you look at the wheel of life, you can't just say, okay, well, in health, for example, I'm going to go to gym. Okay, well, break it down. What is your end goal when it comes to health? Well, I want to weigh X amount and make it smart, okay? So make it measurable, make it time-bound. Make sure it's a smart goal. But if you tie it back to health again and we look at it, in a year, I want to lose X amount of weight. I want to be able to walk X distance, run X distance. I want to lift X weight, whatever. I want to be able to run around with the kids, go cycling with them, whatever it is. You decide how you're tying in your health. But then that's the end goal. Then you work it back and you say, okay, then I've got to break it down to quarterly and monthly. And I know some people think you're nuts, Brett. This is like running a company. I promise you, you want to take control of your life, you want to do it, you've got to have practical steps, and you've got to apply it. Just thinking about stuff is not going to help. You've got to apply it, write it down, and actually make it happen. So going back to the gym thing, if I said I wanted to go to gym and do weights 3 times a week, maybe the way you would break it down, you say, okay, well, in month 1, I'm only going to go once a week. Then in month 2, I'll go twice a week. In month 3, I'll go 3 times a week. So by the end of that quarter, I'm going 3 times a week. But then it's to expand on it and say, okay, now I've got to keep that consistently going. So I'm always going 3 times a week. And it ties into the smaller goal of saying, okay, over and above now going 3 times a week like I've wanted to do, and I've planned that over a 3-month period. So I've got it into a routine. You've got to tie it into smaller bite-sized chunks and say, okay, now that I'm going to gym, and I'm lifting X weight, constantly trying to build on that. Heavier weight, heavier weight, heavier weight. So you're getting stronger or whatever else. You could tie it in with your walking. I said I wanted to walk 3 times a week. So it was first trying to schedule it in my diary, make sure I've got it booked in there. 4:30, 5:30, knock off line, get out and walk, okay? And at first it was, walk maybe 2Ks. Then it was 3Ks. Then it was 4Ks. Then it was 5Ks. And now I'm walking 6Ks 3 times a week. Over and above walking the 6Ks, which is good for your health, okay? It's giving me time alone with my thoughts, listening to my audiobooks, investing in myself, growing my knowledge, podcasts, growing my knowledge. Again, choose the people that you're going to follow. Choose who you're going to listen to, okay? Who you surround yourself, who you listen to, who you follow, that is also important, okay? If you're going to surround yourself and follow people that are negative and conspiracy theorists, whatever the right word is, don't do that. You're just wrong mind space. Remember, step 1, take control of your mind and your thoughts. Step 2, purpose, vision, mission. Step 3, we're breaking it down into smaller chunks. It's how you will improve just a little bit every single day. And this is tying in to your wheel of life and everything that I've spoken about. Okay, so step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 4. Step 4 is, this is where you need discipline, you need routines. I've said it already several times. Whatever you're putting in line as your plan and what you want to achieve, takes 21 days to form a habit. So it's going to be hard those first few weeks, those first few days. You know, if I go back to the gym analogy, waking up at 5:30, my alarm goes off at 4:30 in the morning. But if you want to wake up early in the morning and you don't usually wake up early in the morning, man, it's tough. The last thing you want to do is get out of bed. It's comfortable. It's warm, especially in the middle of winter, especially in New Zealand where it's often raining. It sucks, man. You don't want to get out of bed, but you have to force yourself. Sometimes it's going to take, that's where you've got that willpower, where you're taking control. I'm not going to let this beat me. I will do this. And you kick your butt out of bed and you make it. I promise you, once you've done it, you do feel better, but it's sometimes hard to get it done. Sometimes telling people you're going to do this, it's accountability. So that's another way to make sure you can get this done. But you've got to figure out a way to be disciplined, to find a routine, and to make sure you're consistent, to build out that habit so that you can actually achieve the goals and everything that you're trying to get in life. So if I talk it back to the mind, if you say you're going to be grateful and start with gratitude, and you're going to recite to yourself first thing in the morning when you're praying or thinking or whatever, quiet time, find those 3 things and do it religiously every morning, going through the 3 things that you're grateful for. Making sure every night you go through the 3 things that you're grateful for and be thankful. Make sure that every single night that you start reflecting on your vision of what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to get there. So make sure you're doing this religiously, even if you're going to journal, whatever works for you. But create that routine and do it over and over and over again until it's a habit. And promise you, it's helping me. So I'm hoping it'll help you. If you want to look at that was with the mind. If you want to look at the physical way of things, I've given you an example of gym. It's making sure you get out of bed, you go to gym, you do the weight training that you said you're going to do X amount of times. In my case, 3 times a week. Make sure that you're going to do your walks 3 times a week. You're going to get your 6Ks in. I've got Strava on my watch, so I make sure I put it on Strava. It records. If it's not on Strava, it didn't happen. So I make sure every gym session, every walk, it's recorded on Strava. I know that I've got friends that are on Strava around the world, people from South Africa, people that moved to Netherlands, people, UK, whatever, they check in and they give you a thumbs up. So it's almost like being accountable to them that I'm doing this regularly. I'm keeping up with my health, so I'm doing that. Finances, little things and little goals that you said you're going to do with saving, whatever else. Make sure you're actually achieving, you've got them in place, investments, whatever. Even if you're saving $5 a month, to form the habit of saving, do that. You just got to get these disciplines in place. You've got to get these routines in place. So that's the fourth step, step 4 of what you need to do. And then the last step that you want to do is step 5. Step 5 is pay it forward. Share, serve, and help, okay? So figure out how you're going to do that. It could be at work that you find somebody that needs help them, coach them, mentor them. It could be in your neighborhood that you start volunteering, you help neighbors, whatever. Do something to give back. I promise you, when you serve others and you help others, it actually helps you probably more than the person that you're helping, okay? A big way for me to try give back, that's why self-learning came about. I said to my wife, there's got to be a way I can help others learn from what we've gone through. It's been one hell of a ride, and it's still a journey that we're going through, and it's still tough. But I wanted to pay it forward. So that's why I started creating all these how-to guides and videos. And I promise you, I don't like being on video. I hate the sound of my voice. I'm the squeakiest oak ever. I hate it. Okay, I look at myself and I think, geez, like who would want to watch this face and listen to this voice? But try to get over myself and say, it's not about you. It's not about what your worries about how you look and how you sound. It's about everyone else. It's about helping them. So Brick, just do it, okay? Get those videos out there. Create those how-to guides. Share on what you've learned. So, we learned and got rentals quickly, and my wife's been amazing with CVs for writing up rentals and getting them secured. So I shared it. Enrolling the kids, it's a tough thing that you want to do. Shared it. Finances, so made a budget tutorial. So I went through the budgets. Trying to fill up with fuel and pump your tires. It caused so much frustration in my life when I first got here. Did a video. Shared it. Struggling with my mental health and trying to get things, sharing it. I'm trying to pay it forward. When you guys mail me, ask me questions, I try to share as many templates, feedback, whatever as I can, because I want to help you guys. I want us to be able to make this home. It is my goal. It's my mission. I mean it when I say we're going to make New Zealand a home. That's my goal. So just to recap, those are my thoughts today. And I know, geez, it's like being on my soapbox again, but I'm telling you, just as I said, there's so many people that I read that are struggling, so many immigrants that are just, they're not getting it right to be able to, and they're almost giving up or maybe have given up, and I don't want that. So I'm trying to give a practical way from my experience, showing what I'm doing. Am I getting it perfectly right? Am I achieving it 100%? No, but I've got a plan. I'm sticking to it. I forgive myself when I don't get it right, and I just get up the next morning and try again and keep trying to improve. And these are the steps I'm following. Starting with your mind. Take control of your thoughts, plant positive seeds of thought to grow, okay? It's your choice. Don't make the excuses. Don't just be that person that's blaming the government and blaming the economy and blaming this. Yes, you're always going to have those outside factors. You're always going to have them. But don't let them take away your choice. You take control of your mind. First step, take control of your mind. Second step, make sure you've given yourself some time and space to figure out what is your purpose in life. Why are you here? Why? What is your purpose? What is your vision? What is your mission in life? What are you trying to achieve? Figure those out. Tie it into the wheel of life and start putting a plan together. Write it down on paper. Make it real. Make time to reflect on it regularly. Put it in your diary like I do. And I even go to the point I give myself a RAG report and rate myself whether I'm green, red, or amber, so that I know how I'm achieving in different areas. Yeah, people are going to think, how anal is this oak? But I'm telling you, step 2, purpose, vision, mission. Third step is little increments, little improvements every single day. They all add up. So don't give up. Just keep building on those, okay? Fourth step, you need to create this to be a habit. You need those 21 days of religiously disciplined consistency to make this a habit. And it's going to be tough. And there's going to be times when you just don't want to do it and you want to give up. And yes, if you fail and you roll over in bed and you go back to sleep one morning and then you hate yourself for the rest of the day and you, bugger, I should have gone to gym. Forgive yourself and try again tomorrow. And just keep going and do it. Create that habit so that you can actually achieve those goals, actually achieve your mission and your purpose in life. But you've got to create that discipline and that habit. And then the last thing is share, serve, help, pay it forward. So that's step 5. If this has resonated with you and you feel it will help, 1, share it with other people that need to hear this, especially other immigrants. Please, let's help each other so we can make New Zealand our home. Okay, I need your help. I can't do this alone. So please do that. The other thing is I'd love to hear from you. If you've got challenges and you're struggling or anything like that, write in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Please, I will respond. Reach out to me, mail me. I'll help wherever I can, but I really want to hear from you. So please comment and share. And where I really need your help more than anything else is also on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and follow me. I need to build that channel so that I can help as many immigrants as possible. And like I said, I can't do it alone. So help me do this. Help me pay it forward and help me reach as many immigrants as possible so we can help make New Zealand our home. Okay, so that was me on my soapbox today. I really appreciate your time and for joining me. And you guys must stay safe until next time. Speak to you then. Cheers.